Monday night.
It's one of those nights where like we're just getting ready to start. Hey, Levi, the screen that shows the comments isn't working. Also, the camera got ready to go live. Camera wasn't working. And then we were like counting down 3, 2, spilled the Rockstar.
Yep, spilled the Rockstar. It's kind of shiny right here.
The fact that we're live at all is remarkable.
Yeah, and we're live on Facebook, which is kind of counterproductive because we just got a new platform.
We did.
But we are still trying to figure out which platform the podcast should go on.
Right.
Because that's kind of a less, the podcast in general is kind of a less formal situation.
If we have to, I can do this deal right here too.
Well, why don't you just do that right now in the meantime?
So we can see comments and stuff. Okay. I'll share it. Mm-hmm. People watching this are like, did they know we were starting? We're professionals. Just give me a second.
We're not.
Okay, we're now live, and I can look at the comments. Okay, Mississippi checking in. Hello, Rip. Cindy said, will podcast be on Facebook or Shiloh Ranch Online?
Oh, wow. We just talked about that.
Yep, here we go. And hi, we're live, Velda. So far, those are the comments. Hello back, Velda.
Nice.
I saw her at the gas station the other day. Our neighbor up there, Miss Velda.
Very cool. Yeah, so...
I'm not going to lie. I'm like all sorts of distracted right now.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember what the on-ramp was.
Oh, well, first we were talking about the... just all the distractions, but then also
real quick
platform
feedback on the platform. Right. I will say I was pleasantly surprised. I think a lot of people made the transition. It's easy to log in. Mm-hmm. That part I was excited about. It feels like people participated. Here's what I loved. We came back here and there was like a lot of people here in the studio that were like answering prayer requests, praying with people online. Yeah. I guess maybe I didn't realize there was going to be people here in person doing that. And I loved that. Yeah. That to me felt, like a huge step forward.
Yeah, no, that was super cool. We had, in the studio, we had 4 people, I think maybe 5 at the end, who had their computers out and their sole job was answering prayer requests and comments.
I feel like that's important for people to know. Like if you're watching a service and you request prayer, like it goes to a chat. There are people that will pray with you. It goes on the prayer list. Like it's not just like an autofill response of like, we will be praying. Like there's actually like, Jill was here. Lydia actually hopped on. Lydia, who I think people would be very excited to know that she's a real person. I think sometimes people see Jacob and they hear about Lydia and they're like, is this?
I do have a very vivid and active imagination. So it's not reaching to say, is Jacob imagining this?
I feel like people are like, Jacob's married. And then they meet Lydia and they're like, oh, thank God. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the screen is on. We're getting closer. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so yeah, platform swap felt good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But where should the podcasts go?
Good question. I think that the podcast, being that they're a little less formal, I think they make sense on a Facebook format. What I like about the church thing is it feels like it's not ever at a risk of being deplatformed, I guess. And I mean, I'm not like a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but I like that we have a little bit of control over that, but also that it's supporting a company that has really gone out and like wrote code to create online church platforms. Supporting a company that has made that a priority, I think just makes sense.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And I think, first of all, the scheduling alone on the new platform is cool.
Yes.
So, I mean, if we decide we are going to put these podcasts on there, then we will schedule everything out months ahead of time. And then,
like we do everything months ahead of time,
months, days, hours ahead of time.
So you guys that can't see, we got Levi and Wesley. They've got the screen up, but the words are like this big and there's no way we can read it. And they're giving each other point like it is live. It is as live as
I wish we had a camera just to show what's going on.
I would almost go live on my personal Facebook just to show. Wesley's got it held and turned and he's holding it over the table.
Okay.
So hey, okay. All right. It's such a small detail and it makes such a big difference because that's where all the comments come in.
Yeah.
Okay. Billy says, ha. Okay. Shiloh Ranch says background's looking great. Hey, how about that?
Oh, yes. Oh, we got the, we're covering them.
We can't see them, but they're there.
No,
make it easy for us to take no geeks. Keto. You guys give us some feedback. What was your thoughts on the new format? I'm curious what people's...
Oh, absolutely.
I think it was easy enough. It didn't feel like a giant transition. I think if it would have had to be like, sign in here and it'll send you an email and you have to click this link. It wasn't any of that. It was really easy. So I'm curious what people thought.
And just the quality.
Absolutely.
It was better. But back to what I was saying, the scheduling. So people could, if we decide to go on there right now, people can see, every Sunday at 8:30 is a service. And so if we put these on there, then they could go see, okay, this Monday, or this Tuesday or this Thursday or whatever, we could have it scheduled out. So I think eventually we will go there. We're just trying to figure out the technical side of it.
I like that people can happen upon this as it's live too, because I wonder how many people just stop in. So advertising wise, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Definitely.
Okay, let's see. Watching from Home Valley, Washington. Powell Butte in the house. The tiny table looks good. Thank you. Levi actually organized that. Adrian. Oh, it was Adrian that noticed. Now we need to pray that the fire goes out. Oh, goodness sakes. The fires.
Man.
That's been tiny table matches, tiny plant. Rip. Okay, I don't know Rip, but I know a little bit about his story. He's from Mississippi. He's been watching online, comments, follows
Really?
all the stuff. Yeah, feels like one of us. We're also getting comments from people like, hey, just a random person from whoa. Like, no, that's not just random people. That's the idea. That's why we put such an emphasis on this kind of stuff here is
100%.
For that.
Yeah.
People feel like they're actually part of
And they
Shiloh.
are, because I guess I'm wondering, what's the difference than being in person and being online?
Here's what I've noticed.
Okay.
I will say this. I feel healthier when I'm actively a part of a community. Mm-hmm. I feel like that when I get isolated, I get a little wonky in my thinking. Like I get
Sure.
I feel uncomfortable. I don't feel as confident. I feel like that what we get from being in relationship with people is important. Mm-hmm. But I think that if you've got that and you're looking for a church community, that this is one, I'm not close personal friends with every single person that calls Shiloh home. Mm-hmm. But if we do a good job with what we're doing, hopefully that's leading people to those sorts of communities. So it's a good question. I don't know how to describe it in a way that makes sense. It's not to replace your circle. It's to enhance, because that's what the gospel does. That's what the Bible does. When people start to get a grasp of who Jesus is. I'm loving the participation real quick.
Yeah.
Let me get caught up real quick.
Sure.
Really enjoyed Justin McKee. Did I understand right? There's going to be a part 2 with him. There's actually a podcast going up.
Right. So it's up.
It is?
It is up, but it's the full podcast.
Right.
So the first half of the podcast was the sermon.
Right. And
then
where
the
is
second
that
half,
up?
So it's up right now.
On Shiloh.
Yeah. It's just studio podcast with Justin McKee.
Okay.
It's on YouTube. So go up on YouTube and see.
There you go. Is it on the
McKee.
podcast app?
Yes.
Okay.
Or yes.
Okay.
If it's not, it will be.
I was able to
tonight.
watch it on the platform. Is easy. If it's easy, it has to be. Yeah, I agree. It had to be easy. That was kind of one of our big things. Is we wanted to make sure that it was like we thought it was an important switch. It allows us more interaction online. Like I said, the prayer rooms, the chats.
Yeah. And back to kind of what we were talking about, or what you were talking about. So you feel healthier.
Yes.
When you're in person, around people. It's interesting because there is a change, I guess, going on, at least that I've seen in the virtual space.
Right.
I guess specifically, Levi and I's age group and younger. I wouldn't even say that. I would say there are relationships that are being made online and kept online and friendships.
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Yeah. Actual interaction.
Actual friendships that that talk just like we would talk now. In fact, even sometimes more so because it's direct. Like I talk to you, and instead of in a coffee shop with a bunch of distractions. But all that to say, eventually where I'm hoping the platform will go is, thinking, okay, in 40 years, whatever, if we've got everyone on there, then there could be the same type of environment, but virtually.
Right.
We can have prayer groups where people meet midweek, just them.
Yeah.
And prayer teams and Bible studies. We can go far.
I think that most mentoring right now is probably a majority, like a large portion, higher percentage of mentoring is taking place online right now.
Sure, yeah.
Because you can learn the information age, but not only the information, but good communicators and things like that. Once I get that information, because I listen to podcasts nonstop, right?
Right.
I mean, everybody knows this. Audiobooks, things like that. Most of the information that I'm gaining digitally. But what that should do is it should create in me growth that is to the benefit of those that I'm around, right?
Yes.
But then a lot of my friendships are not based on geography. Like I don't just walk next door like we used to. When I was a kid, you were friends with whoever you lived next to. Like you walk next door and you're like, we're friends because here you are and here I am. And now like you get to actually invest into more friendships based on the accessibility regardless. Like Garrett and I talk a lot online or like on the phone or whatever. But then when we do get to see each other, it's like you just pick right back up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've got a buddy that's in the Navy.
Right.
And we talk and play video games. I mean, you can even have a hobby with them with video games or everything like that. So I'm saying it's getting closer.
Jet, most of his friends, he stays in contact with them through the winters when we're in Arizona playing video games. Sure. Like that's their conversation. They talk all the time. They get home, they're like, whoa, you look different. Yeah. But they've been in contact. And so I think if you go back 100 years when people are writing letters, maybe it wasn't reasonable. Yeah. Maybe that wasn't like a reasonable expectation. So yeah, it is interesting. I don't think that people should maybe bury themselves in a cave.
Yeah.
And only pick.
Right.
I think we're finding. Here's what I think. I think we're finding our balance as a globe right now of like, what is the boundary? Like, am I strictly digital? Think about the music business. We were just talking about this before the podcast started. Like so much good music was coming out in the 90s and it was CDs and things like that. And then after like the turn of the century, just bam, it all goes digital and just completely changed the whole music scope. Is it better? Is it worse? Well, artists aren't getting paid. And so because artists aren't getting paid, then the art goes down a little bit. And anyway.
Sure.
But I think that's kind of where I see the church thing happening is I'm not saying we've got it nailed, but Rip Copeland from Mississippi, I had no way of connecting with that guy at a personal level. Sure. And now all of a sudden you hear from these people that have just found home here. No,
I think it's where the entire, it's where everybody's going. So it's good that, I'm glad that we're stepping into it.
Do you think, because you and I are from obviously a real similar generation, but you're quite a bit younger than I am. Do you think your generation is going, wait a minute, we like that that's a part of our interaction, but it's only as a part, not as a replacement? Or do you think people are replacing social interaction with online?
Well, it's interesting. I would say...
Just leave that, Mike.
Yeah.
I want to ask him here. I want to ask you that same question here in just a second.
Yeah. So I would say definitely not replace. Wesley and John, who have been on the podcast and been around, are a great example because during the summers, not even guaranteed, but they were in Corvallis, at school, and I was here working, and so we never hung out in person really, and so it was phone calls and video games and so on to stay in touch,
just to kind of augment, rather than replace.
It's definitely not what it is when you're in person.
Yeah,
but I do know situations, and I've heard, testimonies, if you will, about somebody being kind of at rock bottom, if you will, and finding a community online.
I know that it happens. You can't discount it altogether.
Right.
But then the weirdest people that you know also have strictly online. So it can be bad. Okay.
So So I think it can go from online starting, to meeting in person and forming a friendship. That's what a friendship is.
Yeah.
So
I would like to know in my life, I don't have goals of pastoring a mega church. Right. Well, I guess based on the measurement, I guess you could say we could, but mega church, right? But I would be interested someday to preach to like a crowd of people that's big enough that you get to be carried by the energy of the room. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And not because I want the notoriety of it. It's not for a competitive purpose. It's literally that I feel like I would love getting to experience that. I would love that. And the reason for that is when there's a lot of people in a room, there is something different than when you're watching a video and it says there are, 7,000 viewers. You don't feel that.
Yeah. That's good.
So there is some energy of being in the same place as people.
100%.
But finding that balance, I don't know.
Yeah.
Levi, are you? I'm curious.
Well, here, hold on. Check.
Just talk real loud so my mic.
There we go. All right.
There he is.
Ask the question again. How did you state it?
So with your generation, because my generation, I was friends. Looking back on it, I didn't realize how big of a deal it was. But we had a lot of neighborhood boys.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any girls living in my neighborhood. And we had 3 oak trees in our backyard, and they were first, second, and third base. Or if you put one more of the propane tank, you could have a football field. So based on what season it was, like we always had a yard full of boys. Always. Big, little, like we fought, we played tackle football, played baseball. Like, of course we love sports. That's what we did every single day. I didn't have the option. I remember we had like something in our home school. We were like pen pals with a kid in China, and who knows if that was actually happening or if it was like Debbie from Wisconsin. But we didn't have the option for social media or digital friendships. I think that we have the potential to overcorrect into strictly digital, and that's what I guess that's my question. Do you feel like it's coming back to a middle where there is a digital element, but then also the personal?
I was raised in like a unique time frame, right? So born in 2000, right? Right on the I know, Y2K. Anyways, basically my childhood, what I had growing up was a PlayStation 2. And this was before there was like an online thing for PlayStation 2, but there wasn't, you're not playing online. My parents used to have to ground me from actually going outside. So I don't think I really hit the online thing until it was like 7th grade, and I had an Xbox 360, and I had done chores to pay for Xbox Gold.
Right.
But even at that point, I didn't have friends to play online with.
See, I was also in that boat.
Yeah.
So, as a kid, nothing. I mean, it was very much who I was around,
Totally.
Now I have no idea even who my neighbors are, to be honest.
But I think I've like
my family thought Nintendo was the devil, but there was a brief period where they're like, maybe it's okay. And I think it was when they were getting sick of being around us, because this is not long after this. They put us in public school for a while. But then it didn't last long because they're like, no, you're spending all your time inside.
Yeah.
But there was no online. Like, I remember the concept of the internet coming into the...
I remember elementary school, I had a DS Lite, and this thing called PictoChat came out, and it was groundbreaking because you could be on a bus, and whoever else was on the bus, if they had a DS, you could communicate in chat rooms.
Oh.
And that was like the biggest deal. And then now, like when I was like 7, right? That's when I had that. Now 7-year-olds today have iPhones.
Yeah.
Our kids feel ripped off that they don't have iPhones yet. I'm like, you're 12 and 9.
Yeah.
But like the only reason I got a phone is because I was with a buddy and he snapped his arm in half. And I wasn't able to.
How old were you?
I think I was 11, 12.
So the reason and the first time I got a phone was we, as a family, like with my cousins and grandparents and stuff, we went to Disney World.
Okay.
And so this was the first time.
Nice. So when you got kidnapped, they want to make sure that you could send a text message to describe the car.
I think literally that. because it was like absolutely not, and then we're going to Disney World,
Safety.
And then it was like, hey Mary, here's a phone. Hey Jacob, here's a phone. Hey Ben, here's a phone.
Must be nice to be rich.
And I was like, what do I even do with this thing? So I was literally texting my mom and brother because I had no friends at that point, probably.
Dude, do you remember having minutes on your phone?
Oh, yes.
After 9 o'clock, it was unlimited minutes.
I would hang up, like I would watch it back. Okay, I got to go. I'd hang up at 59 seconds because if you went to like a minute 1. And then I remember the first text message I ever got and just being so enthralled, but we had to push like each number several.
I had my Motorola Razr and I
2,
got freaking so fast at typing on that thing.
I remember
there would talk about the server at some point.
Oh,
it just occurs to me.
Now we're just doing a podcast.
Yeah,
Sorry,
this
guys.
is just. But yeah. So anyway, the platform is cool.
But it's brand new. It is brand new. So to expect that. And I think everybody that gets like, oh, this isn't real, this is digital. I get it. We're figuring it out. But it's also connecting with people that we couldn't have reached otherwise.
I mean, like Jill, Levi's mom, was so incredible on the prayer. She was the prayer team at that time. She was praying for people. And I was amazed, because she was typing away and another person would pray request and then she was going for that. And I was like, wow, people are actually using this.
Right.
And we have the prayer room in the back after service, but we don't really have a situation where somebody can get prayed
literally
for
right there. Yeah.
And it's so private. I mean, even so, however private you want to be, like If you're one of those people that, doesn't want to be seen, having struggles, which doesn't make sense, but,
I think
this is completely
I would be more likely to ask for prayer online
100%
than face to face.
Yeah.
And that's just my nature. I feel like face to face, you're like, I'll figure it out. It's fine. I'm good. Where digitally, you might be like, hey, I'm kind of in over my head. Yeah. And think about what the printing press did to the Bible versus the church. Like the church 100%. Shaped, I guess that's my point, is I don't want to get so locked on to tradition that we don't sort of figure our way out there. I'm getting my back worked on a lot right now. And the reason that my back is so messed up is it's locked up. And so I'm 3 times a week I go in, and they're like, it needs to be flexible. Like your bones, subluxations is the word. But if it gets too rigid, then that's where things start to fall apart. And I think that's kind of what I want to make sure is like, hey, we get that it's digital. We get that it's different. We might overcorrect this way or that way, but it does feel like we're kind of finding our way.
Well, that's a good point too, because like bringing up what the printing press did to the Bible, right? So time changes. Time is an unstoppable force, right? So like, what is our printing press today? And I think that's online.
Yeah,
I think it's a different version.
That's well said. Yeah, this is the printing press.
Totally.
I remember, before we get into the sermon, we had a party line when I was a kid, and if you picked up the phone, like the neighbor might be using your phone.
Yeah, totally.
You'd be like, oh, sorry, okay, see you in a little bit. And then you hang up and you check it again. And like, the first time we ever got a phone call with caller ID, it was Zach Griffin, my brother's friend. And we're like, okay, we're going to hang up the calls, okay? All right, we're doing, okay, bye, click. And we just look at the phone, we're like, is this actually going to happen? And he called, and it says the name and the number. And I swear in that moment, I was like, where is this spaceship?
I don't know why I'm picturing you using one of those like spinny phones.
We had one. No, we did. And it was the cord was like this. And if you weren't careful, it would get all like jacked up. Yeah. No, we did. We did have one of those phones. There were other kind of phones invented, but we were poor. Shanda says, I miss landlines. My children are struggling because I want them to pick up the phone and call their friends. Friends these days don't know how to talk to people in person. My kids don't like talking on the phone. My daughter likes talking because she likes talking. But like Jet, if you have a conversation with Jet on the phone, it's like pulling teeth to get him to say words. You're like, how's it going? And you can tell like he's excited to hear. He's like, oh, unless Shonda, FaceTime. If you can FaceTime, for some reason that helps a little bit. But again, FaceTiming, can you imagine when I was a kid telling like you're going to be able to look at a screen? Okay. Lacey says, difference between life goals versus dreams. She's trying to get us. All right. Jeez.
Whoa, man.
Jason Graham says rotary phone. Okay. So one of the things that I am starting to understand, and we started last Monday, is the standards versus the tolerance. Mm-hmm. That, to me, I think God puts a piece of our expectation in us in a way that we can't ignore. Mm-hmm. It's like if you were to walk by a glass aquarium and it's half full of water, the first thing that we as people want to do is like, why don't you fill it up? Like, we see that the capacity is there. But if we look at it enough, we get used to going, okay, it's half full. Okay, and then we just don't even think about it. I wonder how often in our lives we are aware that there is potential that's being unrealized, and we've just gotten where we tolerate it.
Oh yeah,
we just exist in that.
I mean, and it's so. I mean, I don't know. I guess universal, in the sense of, expectations and which you, the standards you hold, but then you don't hold to yourself. I mean, I was literally just thinking about that today. I was like, I want to stop snacking. And then I had 3, packages of like that we have here of those almonds. And then I was just thinking, man, that I did the thing that we just talked about on Sunday.
So strategy on that, because I don't want to make this about appearance. And I feel like I did.
Right, yeah.
I did kind of focus on that. But for myself, I have standards of a certain amount of health. And I think that's all you're saying.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly.
That I want to hold myself to that people could see, but there's a spiritual standard that nobody else can see. I am personally responsible for a spiritual standard in my life.
Right.
In the same way that I want to take care of my body, I want to take care of my spirit, I want to take care of and I think here's where I've struggled. I'm okay having a bad reputation. Hear me on this.
Sure.
Pastors for so long have propped themselves up as like the most spiritual person. I just stay so miserable for Jesus. And it's like that's what we've started to expect from pastors. When I decided when I said yes to be a pastor, one of the things I said was, Be mad. I don't care. Sure. I'm going to pursue. I'm going to have goals. And so I got used to having thick skin as a pastor when people are, that's not what pastors do. I'm like, I know. I don't care. Like the pastors you think are perfect aren't perfect either. I got so resistant to other people's expectations that I stopped holding myself to my own expectations. I'm not saying like moral issues. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like I allow myself to be grumpy. I don't put myself out. I don't really go the extra mile and as often as I should, because I was so determined that I was not going to let because people will do it accidentally. They're like, I just need about an hour of your time, pastor. And you're like, in a sense, I want to be available for that. But if I said yes to everybody that wants to talk to the pastor, what you find is very few of them actually wanted to talk to the pastor. They had questions that literally anything in the system could have addressed. Like any one person that's a part of the church or the leadership team or whatever. But I got so resistant to everybody else's standards that if I'm not careful, I'm letting myself slip and I become someone that I didn't want to be either. And so it's not holding yourself to an approval standard. It's holding yourself to like, do I feel like in my own conscience, God, am I becoming what you want me to become or who you want me to become?
Yeah.
Jordan, you have a great reputation. Oh, Velda. I don't know. Maybe it's in my head, but I think that I don't mean bad reputation like people think that I'm a bad person.
Right.
I think there are times when people are like, and I don't know, I mean, I don't want to get, that's not the point of what I'm trying to say. I don't want to get distracted here, but I think people have this ideal of what a small town pastor should be. And I don't think that that's what I will ever want to be.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that I want to become a lazy, selfish piece of crap either. Right. So at some point, there is some sort of a standard and there is some sort of small group that I have to hold myself accountable to that can speak into my life and go, hey, my wife has no problem calling me out on stuff.
Really?
And I feel like that's important. But I don't want to make all this about me. But that's what I'm saying. When God comes in and goes, hey, I will prune your life so that you can produce more fruit. He is saying there is an expectation and there is a standard of a life of production. And I think that should be exciting. I think that should be exciting that we wake up in the morning going, God is going to do something beyond me, transcendent, that I can't do on my own.
Yeah. Well let me talk about something and like in my life, and then you tell me if is in that same train of thought. So I always feel better when I, pray and read the Bible at night and then pray and, spend some time in the Word in the morning. I just feel more at peace. Start. But, and I mean, if somebody came to me and said, I want to be a more peaceful person, that's probably where I'd say start. And then I would have no problem saying and be like, and do it every day. Don't skip it, make it a habit and so on. And then I find myself lacking, and then it becomes a habit to not do it. And then pretty soon you wake up months later or, and then you're thinking, I haven't done that. I really need to get back to that. I mean, is that holding yourself to a standard, holding yourself to your standard?
Well, if I came in and I go, Jacob, you need to read your Bible every single day or I'm going to be disappointed in you. Mm-hmm. The way that I, Jordan, am wired, it would be very easy for me to go, I don't mind disappointing anyone. Mm-hmm. I'm just a combative default setting. Not that it's good. It's a default setting. But what you're saying is, I believe it, so why am I not doing it? Why am I not disciplining myself in areas to say, like, I'm going to carve out of stone, if I have to, a place in my life where God gets to have my thoughts, I get to participate in what I believe the Word to be saying on a daily basis. And if I'm not doing that, I'm not holding myself to a standard that I verbally agree I think is better. So that's a good way of saying it, is there are things that I believe and that you believe and that we all as people believe. But shame is so quick to go, you ruined it, so stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Curtis, this is, I don't recognize that name. Is there anyone who's willing to help? Oh, that's the guy, remember?
Oh, I can block him.
I don't know if I'm going to block. I don't know. I think people look for opportunities with anything that says church to be like, hey, you want to do something great?
Yeah.
70,000 pounds of hamburger. It's not that we're not.
I think it's just a bot. So
yeah.
It's not an actual person. Anyway,
I was so excited. It was a long new name, long comment. I'm like, okay.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, for instance, and gosh, I don't know if I even go here, but I will. I'm going to risk it. And then if it's weird, I guess everybody forgive me. I don't want to be obligated, because if I'm obligated, then my life disappears and I become like spread so thin that I'm no good. So I'm very protective of my time. So when somebody goes, you should go see such and such, you should go do such and such. Like when people hand me a book, I have like a resistance to that of like, why would you assign me homework? Mm-hmm. As opposed to if someone's like, hey, here's a book I read, I'm just naturally more inclined. I went to something this weekend that I should have gone to. I absolutely should have gone to, but I almost didn't because my natural setting is I don't want to be obligated to something. Mm-hmm. And I told Lacey, because Lacey was the one that kind of insisted. And I told Lacey, I'm like, I'm so glad you did, because by nature, I'm like, nope. I become a no to everything. If I'm not careful, I say no to everything. And I'm glad that I have people in my life that will say like, hey, you should expect more of yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I like. It's a fine line. You got to know that you have people in your life that can speak into your life and still have a confidence that not everybody gets to demand your time.
Yeah.
Boundaries are what you set for yourself when you go, this is what I'm able to do. Mm-hmm. And I think those are incredibly healthy. That's one of the things. There are people that just, I feel like I'm rambling, but there are people that will not respect your boundaries. They just miss every obvious hint of like, don't do that. Like, I got to have a family. I got to have time. But at the same time, you got to have people that are like, you absolutely need to make that a priority.
Yeah. I mean, I think my default in giving people time.
Cindy said, I almost gave you a book the first time I met you. Whew, thank you. I don't mind people recommending books.
Yeah.
But to hand it to me, you need to read this. That feels different.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I think my default when giving people time also, the way I think about it is also like mental time on thinking about the situation, or just in general, I guess thinking about them. I have an easier time thinking, whatever, they'll be fine. Or if somebody, oh, do you think they did this or did that? And it's like, I don't care what they think, and that's like my default.
There's a balance. I can't trust myself all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I can't trust myself all the time, but I also don't want to expect that everybody else is always right all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of that flexibility thing of like, when somebody says you should do this, and I'm like, I don't care what anybody says. Anytime somebody goes, I don't care what anybody says, you're like, oh, that guy seems like probably a liability.
Right.
You got to care a little bit what someone says. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't just be the unhinged one who's like, I never care what anybody says. You're like,
yeah. I mean, and so I think a discipline, but I hold a standard to people or just myself to give people mental time in prayer, in thinking about the situation and thinking how to help them and so on, because that's what I would say is a good thing for somebody else to do. In my situation, I want somebody to think about, pray about me, think about me, and so on like this. And then I need to hold that same discipline.
What do you think Moses's wife, I'm actually really curious. I wish there was a way to know the answer to this. What do you think Moses's wife was like when Moses was a shepherd? Because if there was potential, that's a long. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to get to that whole thing. He put his phone number. Not sure about that one. I don't know about that one. When Moses was a shepherd, the potential to lead a country across a desert was in him. Mm-hmm. Right? What was he like as a shepherd? Was the character really high? Was the discipline really high? Or was he miserable and edgy and realizing that he was underaccomplished? Like, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm curious, because when God said, I want to do something amazing, Moses' reaction was, I mean, I know I'm underachieving, but that would be too much. And that's what I'm curious. Like a dream that says like, what am I capable of? What kind of fruit could I produce? I would love to think that everybody that is listening on a Sunday morning would hear that and go, what am I capable of?
Yeah.
Am I attacking life with a sense of anticipation, or am I just surviving? Levi, is there a way to
Yeah, I can
do something?
that.
I just don't know if I can get all the way through that whole message right there.
One thing that I really like that you talked about briefly in the sermon was like the people that call you out in your life aren't necessarily like the lovable, like plushy type people,
Yeah.
you know, but
You're
need
not gonna
them,
like them.
so badly. But it's interesting how like God brings in a significant other in your life, right? And it's the perfect pair of like, man, you are calling me out and you're so right and I don't even know it, you know? And it's almost like maddening, but the sweetest, most loving thing.
I'm not sure Lacey and I could be much more different. I mean, we're best buds, but we're very, very different in like our personalities, in the way that we see the world, in the way that we were raised, in the way that, so the things that she does that make me the most in a moment frustrated are also the things that, given enough time and enough thought, like you're saying, have challenged me to go, okay, maybe the way that I've always done this, I'm capable of more. What do you do? Okay. What do you do with that thought? Good point, Levi. Oh, can you guys hear Jet's stupid dog barking right outside the
Jet, you want to go take care of that?
intern? What do you do with the idea that when I guess it's fairly common that when people get prefrontal cortex dementia, their creativity is supposed to be found in the prefrontal cortex.
Right.
And yet, when people, but it's kind of like your decision making, your conscious mind. They think that's maybe where your conscious mind is held. But when people get prefrontal cortex dementia, they actually experience an increase in creativity, which means their editor had been shutting them down for so long. Their internal mind's like, no, look at Moses. Okay, God goes, you're going to be able to do all these amazing things. And the editor in Moses' mind went, no, shut it down. That's what I'm saying. It's like to Levi's point. I'm curious if that's part of what God does, is he brings in somebody that's a different editor to speak into your life. Because in the same way that Lacey like has no problem correcting me, she has no problem encouraging me.
Right.
Like, hey, what you said right there was important. That matters. And like her encouragement matters to me in a way that only her encourage. Because how terrible would that be to be married to somebody that's not a fan of yours? Like if Lydia was like, oh, let Jacob, ugh.
Yeah.
Like
it wouldn't work.
There's nobody I want to make more proud than my wife. So I wonder if sometimes God rearranges the source of editing in our brain to go, maybe lean into some of this. Maybe you are, like that you are obviously capable of more. You can do more. You can go further. And
yeah, I mean, I know, I feel it. And this also goes to a standard of, I hold a standard for other people of dream big, go far, because you can. It's just a decision away to say, but be honest with yourself. What do I want to do? What can I do? Because the fact is, I mean, people have done crazy stuff. People have run 300 miles in a race before for like 6 days with no sleeping, just running. The human body can do a lot. So you can do it probably.
it takes a long time to drive 300 miles.
Yeah. So when you have a dream, the chances of you probably being able to actually do that are pretty high.
Well, and I wonder that's kind of what I'm trying to say, and that I didn't really maybe fully clarify is if you can't let it go, I think that matters. Like when you had a dream, and like when I had a dream that I was going to be invisible or something, that was an easy one to let go. But if there are other dreams that just linger and they just stay there, I'm curious if that's not an indicator of God's like, that's the capacity.
Right.
Like have you ever seen the video of the dude with the bows and arrows and how he can shoot, like jump and shoot 3 arrows before he lands? Until you know that exists, you don't know how far you can go. Right. But then once you know that exists, you can never unknow it. And so the standard goes up. And I wonder sometimes if God puts a standard that we can't fully comprehend, but then it says like, if you abide in me, wait and see what I can do through your life. And we take that as, why am I not doing it?
Right.
Instead of, how close can I cling to God?
Yeah.
I love picturing it from like actually an editing mindset. So like if I'm working on a project, it's really helpful to have Jacob's eyes go over that same project, you know, and thinking about, okay, like from a dream perspective, if there's a shot you need in your timeline, right? You're going to go get that shot because you need it to complete the video.
Right.
And so when you reference like God places different editors in our life, it was kind of cool because I pictured like the actual timeline in my head. Like if you could put your life on a timeline and view every single aspect of it and then see the parts that other people are adding to it. Just a fun little thought.
Have you ever seen Megamind?
Yes.
When Metro Man disappears and they find him and he's like, I want to be a singer and I'm going to be Music Man. I didn't even have to change the logo.
Right.
And he starts singing and it's just terrible. And Megamind's like, granted, you got talent. I think in the back of my mind, that's always been a fear, is it all turns out that this dream, you got this dream, you want to go for it. And then it all comes out that you're just ordinary.
Right.
You're just common. And it's like, I don't want to embarrass myself. There's this fear of losing. There's this fear that, and this is the sermon Sunday, so I can't go too far down this road, but there's this giant fear of losing versus pursuing something that you love. That is such a disappointment that people view it as winning or losing versus pursuing something that they love for the purpose of loving it.
Yeah.
And I like what your mom just said. She said, we believe we're designed to have a close circle of friends and family to walk with us and speak into our lives. Yes, social media has made people feel like they have a right to access us, and it's gross. Because they're not really accessing you. They're accessing what you put out, or they're basing decisions on what you put. Like, if you were to look at my Instagram or my Facebook, you don't see my real life. You see whatever I'm willing to post. Ask my wife. I can't ever post a picture of her. She's like, take that down. And so it's a perceived access, not a real access, which then throws things off because you can think someone's life is anything. And that's what I'm saying about winning or losing. People have stopped pursuing what they love and they've started pursuing wins or losses. And there's this fear of losing. And, you know, the Music Man from Metro, like if he just found something he loved to do, as stupid of a reference as that is. But I wish people could live in that kind of freedom of like, what is it that I love to do? And then believe that that matters. Believe that what God has put into you matters.
Yeah. I mean, I think 100% in this mindset of who has the right to say they have, like, they speak into your life, right? So I mean, just like kind of
hold on, let me answer that. So many people think they have that right to speak into my life. Yeah,
but I don't, you know, and so the same.
But you actually do.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, if a million people, you know, I'm personally, and everybody really I know is acceptable to, you know, people not liking them online, and it hurts you.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you know, have the close circle in your life, but then even in person, don't let all those other human people in person discourage you from doing what you enjoy. Because I think that there is a value that this world has created where we put value on stuff that we don't necessarily have
value the amount of people watching it more than we value what it actually is.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we gauge it based on the size of the audience, which is, I mean, that's human nature.
Yeah,
that's
I mean, I think
safety.
Money is what we, you know, because why is a why is a CEO of Apple worth more, have a higher value than like a carpenter or an artist or, you know, so on like this? I mean, there's a perceived, they can, you know, they have knowledge.
I can actually answer that one. There are some people that need to be more rewarded than others because otherwise it's socialism. And value of person, no. Value of income, yes, because that's where you get innovation. That's what makes capitalism work. That's why God, like in the Bible, the Bible didn't say everybody owns everything. He said, you know, like the 10th commandment. What's the 10th commandment? Which one's steal? Pastor Jordan here.
Don't steal.
Don't lie, steal, cheat. Yeah, and don't be bad. There's one about coveting and there's one about stealing. It's identifying individual property ownership because God knows human nature is there are going to be people with high ambition, there are going to be people with low ambition, and you want your high ambition people to be rewarded because they bring so much to the table that you got to put the bell at the top of the mountain that they can ring.
Right. But, I'm saying if the Lord can use your life in a million different ways.
Right.
And he put interests in you to signify probably what you're made to do or what you would be a benefit to the kingdom of God doing. Maybe you're supposed to be music man.
Right.
But there's a higher perceived
reward
value
for Metro Man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that there's a worldly perceived value.
Right.
But then there's also the kingdom perceived value.
That is exactly right. And could we attack life with the same passion with no audience and no social reward if we knew that God was like, yes, you're doing it.
Exactly.
And we don't.
Yeah.
And we don't.
Yeah.
We struggle with that.
And and holding yourself to a standard, saying, I would tell anyone, do what you love to do, what you feel like you're made to do, and put money aside. Forget about it. Because
what do you do though? Because I agree with you, but then there's going to be those people who are like, I can't put money aside. My kids need food on their table.
Right.
Like there is a practical application to it.
So I would say, don't do it right now. Don't do it completely.
Yeah.
Use your extra time. Use your time to pursue it.
Yeah.
And give yourself to it and pursue it like the Lord is sitting there saying, yeah.
Right.
Because he is.
Well, and I think that's and when it says whatever your hand finds to do, do it heartily as unto the Lord. That's what that verse means is, hey, if you're bagging groceries today and that's what you're doing and you go, I'm capable of more. Great. Great. Hang on to that. Joseph spent years in a prison cell. God was preparing him through even that. Don't give up on the passion that you're going somewhere, but don't undervalue what God can teach you through what seems menial, and look at your job as a way to contribute versus consume. That has been a giant difference maker in my life. When I look at what God's got me doing as a way that I can contribute versus consume, because if it's consumption, it'll never pay enough for me to be happy with it. Right. Victoria says, what gives you the right to speak into someone's life and when is it okay? Boy, I wish people were better at answering this, myself included. I think religion tells you it's always okay to tell someone when they're wrong. And that's not true. Like Lacey and I had this conversation. We were driving home last Thursday night from somewhere. And I said, what happens if our kids reach an age of adulthood and they start going down a road that we don't agree with? What is that? What is that line? Because if I were to intercede and go, that's it, you're not, like, I don't see that. I don't see very many kids who would look at their parents making demands and go, okay, mom and dad, I'll change my belief because you said so.
Yeah. But
that means I have to start preparing myself right now to love them in such a way that they're willing to come talk to me about it. But I don't have any control. I don't think there can be control in a loving environment, and I don't think there can be love in a controlling environment. So if someone talks to you, I guess that's the answer, is if somebody were to come to you and go, hey, can we talk about this? Yes. If it comes up, maybe we can talk about it, but never as an enforcement. I think that's kind of the rule of thumb. That being said, that's what I hope people take away from this, is to expect a standard. Well, and that's okay. So there are going to be people that expect more out of us, and those are important people, and they almost have to cross a line to do it. So when is the time?
Right.
I feel like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard because we're dealing with actual spiritual stuff. Yeah. There isn't a rule book that says this is when it's okay to talk into somebody's life and this is when it is not.
Yeah, maybe just when.
I mean, it's
when
literally
prompted.
It's have a relationship with Jesus.
Right.
And talk with him.
Trust that in those moments.
Because that's
I like your answer better than mine.
I mean, yeah, that's the expectation I have on myself of I'm going to let the Spirit lead.
Well, and I love what Tyler just said, is building a bridge into someone so you can speak into their life. If you think of it like a bank account, like deposits and withdrawals, I think sometimes people are way willing to make withdrawals, but without ever putting in deposits. Like just showing up and serving somebody or loving somebody or like putting time into their life. And if you go, I can't do that, then that's probably not someone you should be taking withdrawals from as far as this is what you need to do. Like I take it really serious. If I ever have like a serious talk with someone, if I ever feel like it's time that I need to have some sort of a serious conversation, I always try to base that on, have I put in enough at a service level to have a voice in their life? Because if not, then even when I say something, it's not gonna land. Holly said relationship. Yeah. Cultivating relationships. Yeah, I think that's what, but at the same time, I mean, I would say I had a relationship with my parents. I mean, I have a relationship with my parents now, but I wouldn't necessarily do what my parents said based on demands. I don't think there's ever been a period in my life, they would probably agree with you, from childhood. It was hard when someone was like, do this. If it was based on a rule, that was hard for me to understand. And I'm not saying they were always wrong, but I'm not saying they were always right. Trust and rest in the fact that God speaks directly to people. Thank you. How much pressure would that take off of you if you're like, okay, I have an opinion, but I know that God speaks to you the way that he speaks to me. So I'm just going to love you until further instructed.
Yeah.
I know that religion teaches you can't do that. You have to step in and correct and demand and.
Well, and what's crazy is
it's a good point, Lacey.
Religion saying that you have to step in and you have to be the one to bring them to the Lord.
Yeah, this isn't easy, but
that's directly saying the Lord can't do it.
Yeah.
So you're contradicting yourself first off, but then
I have found my favorite TikTok account of all times. Yep. It's the sermon one, International Freedom Baptist Foundation or whatever. Okay. Amazing what people can lock onto as far as the rules. They're like, your face isn't even shaven. And you're like, when did that? You ain't wearing a suit and tie, then you ain't going to heaven. Like, Jesus didn't wear a suit and tie. Like that kind of stuff. It's crazy to me, the stuff that people can lock on and feel so passionately about. They're like, and I got to say something else. If you women are out there walking around with your shirts without sleeves, and it's like, what? The rules that people will come up with, that pretty soon you kind of lose all relationship when it's about, if you're going to live for God, it has to be done like this. I'll send you that TikTok, and I would encourage everybody to go find it, because two things: it'll make you realize how crazy people can get, and it will make me seem like a much better preacher.
Yeah. I mean,
our lives and relationships are always evolving. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah. I think restrictions and rules, personally, take the fun out of everything.
Is Lydia watching her now?
Probably.
Okay.
Lydia, if you're watching right now, comment.
Imagine, she's one of our hosts now on Sunday morning.
She's one of our hosts, so she's basically
imagine
watching right now.
how long would it take if you went home today and you're like, Lydia, pick that up.
Do that.
Lydia, can you make me a sandwich? Oh, Lydia, don't do that. Oh, Lydia, don't say that. Oh.
4 seconds.
How? I'll take the under. Where there is control, love dries up. But if you were to go home and start serving and go, what can I do with it? How can I help you with this? What can I do? All of a sudden you see love, and like it's this mutual respect, this beneficial mutual respect, that when you try to control somebody, it dries the love up in that situation. And that's what I love about God, is God's like, I'll tell you if you ask, and like I'll lead you, like I'll be your God and you be my people. And this is the general written word, and this is what I would love to see in your life. But you make your decisions. Yeah. And if God himself, the creator of the universe, who speaks truth into existence, does that, why am I so uptight? And I tell you what I think it is. I think sometimes I'm so aware that I'm underperforming in life that it makes me miserable in ways that manifests as me being miserable with other people. I turn into a miserable heifer with people when I feel like I'm like underachieving in life.
Oh yeah. Going back to what I was saying about
rotary phones.
Having and telling people.
It would appear Lydia's not watching, by the way. Get a hold of your wife. Anyway, it's not important.
I tell people, pursue what you love,
right?
Because in there somewhere is probably purpose. What is a purpose.
That's a thing. To clarify, you do say that a lot. You really do. Like, I've heard you tell the people that for as long as I remember knowing you, of like, find what you love.
Mm-hmm. And when I say pursue, that means more than just money. That's time. That's energy that's, oh, she is watching. Okay.
Holly told her these women are sticking together.
So, and I say that because, humans are quite capable.
Right.
So I truly do believe that, just like you said, what if I can't just quit all my jobs and I need money to survive and so on like that? I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
When I say pursue, I'm talking about free time and reaching out online.
Yes.
And
yes.
Yeah.
If the average person works 8 hours a day and they sleep for a healthy amount of time, which is 8 hours, you have got 8 hours to live your life. And I know parents are like, I don't have any time. I get it. If you really, really love something, you make time, you find time. And like, if you want to, let's pick a job. I don't care what it is. Pick something people love. Wesley, what's something that people would love? What's one thing? Music. You will find ways to incorporate that. Even at work, you're like going over songs in your head, or you're going over chord progressions or stuff. Even as you're working, you are finding ways to incorporate the things that you love. And I think that's what you're saying, is give yourself permission to love something.
Yeah.
Give yourself permission to pursue something that you love. Live with expectation. Live with a dream that says, hey, I want to hold myself to a higher standard. I've tolerated mediocrity, and I'm not pursuing something that I love, that I'm passionate about. And yet that passion isn't going away, even when I'm stifling it years later. That matters. If it's persistent, consider that. I mean, that I'm with you. That seems like something that would be a indicator of like something's going on.
Something's in there.
And who cares if anybody else watches? If you love it, hey, when I go, like for instance, I'll go out at night and I'll put on my headphones and I'll rope the dummy. Here's why I rope the dummy. I love it. I don't want there to be 10,000 people around watching. In fact, if there were, it would actually make it worse, because I feel like it would mess up the moment, right? And I think the world has stopped appreciating those moments where there's no audience. Doing something because you love it without any audience.
Yeah. Fun fact, Jacob was the first person in my life, at least, sophomore year of high school, to push me to pursue what I love.
Man,
And now we're here.
3 long years ago when Levi was a sophomore.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yes,
Seriously though,
it's been a theme that's followed his life.
Because I was
hey,
working at Grocery Outlet and Cupio, and convinced that I was just going to work my life away till I had enough money to be happy or whatever.
Yeah.
And it never once crossed my mind to like, oh, maybe I like do what I like.
Okay, so I was listening to somebody, I can't remember who it was. I'd have to think about it. But somebody was saying like, hey, a lot of people thought they loved music, and they got into it and they realized they weren't musically talented.
Right.
But they're good business people. So instead of like, I give up, I'm not going to be music anymore. They're like, I could be a producer. I could be a label. Like the people that make the most actual money in music are the good business people who have a passion for music, even if they don't have a talent. I'm not saying pursue money, but what I am saying is if you will lock on to what you're passionate about, but not lock on to the parameters of that. Of like, I wanted to be this and it didn't work out, so I give up. I'm canceling myself. Of like, wait a minute. I want to stay connected to this. I'm still passionate about it, but maybe it's going to look different than I expected. Adrian says, God can use unbelievers to speak into your life when Christians aren't. I can't read that. Drunks or donkeys, I will speak to them through anyone. Yeah. So yes, Lacey speaks directly to people.
Right.
I can't read. It's too far away. He speaks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like you thinking about, I'm realizing how bad I was probably just squinting on camera. I think she said.
You can move it closer eventually.
Yeah.
But I said this once before. I can't remember if it was on a podcast, but I think I was talking perhaps with Wesley when I said, I believe you can do anything. And then it, came to the thing of, I do not like school. The system.
Right.
The school
the
system
of school. Yeah.
And so if I wanted to be a doctor, it would take me a long time to become a doctor.
Right.
And I said, but, so I think I said to Wesley, if you want to become a doctor, you can become a doctor. He says, well, it would take me 60 years to get through doctor school. And I said, yeah,
but you can get there.
You could do that.
Yeah.
Then you're a doctor.
Right.
It's like, yeah, well, I don't want to wait. I don't want to spend that time. Okay, there you go. You just figured it out.
Okay, I won't say names because I don't know if they'd feel comfortable with me saying this, but I've got some friends that are very successful, and they work so hard in a very physical, demanding environment. And what I realized was everybody thinks they want the resources that this family has. Oh, it must be nice. If somebody gave you what they have, but you had to work as hard as they work for it, most people would say no. I mean, they don't realize like, oh yeah, it must be nice. Well, it's not nice. It's the opposite of nice. A lot of times what you think you want, you could have until you realize the investment. And then you go, then I really actually don't want that. Somewhere in there is this thing that goes, it's worth it. I would suffer for that. I would see it as being worth it to suffer to get to that place.
So just like you said, if somebody wants to be in the music industry, if somebody wants to be in the medical industry, and they say, I need to be a musician to be in the music industry. I need to be a doctor to be in the medical field. No, you don't.
Right.
Maybe you're
You can
literally
be adjacent. You can be just as successful at an adjacent
you
position.
don't have to be an academic to be in the medical field.
Right.
You can be designing technology for it. You can be the one that, whatever, right? So if that is the standard I hold for people then I need to hold that for myself.
I thought about you the other day. Did you listen to the Quentin Tarantino podcast? Did you know there was one out on Spotify?
Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
Joe Rogan and Quentin Tarantino?
You haven't heard it yet?
No, dude.
I can't believe I didn't send it to you.
Oh my God.
But he talked about working in a video store and just being such a fan of films.
He
And you're
knew-
listening to someone's story, and I thought for sure you'd already heard it. But it's so fascinating because that guy is now on the other side of that hill, looking back and remembering like the likelihood of that is so small, but he always had a passion, so much so that, ready for this, he was working in a video store.
Yeah.
Because he just loved it. Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder when the Bible says life more abundantly, I think there are times where God's like, why are you so afraid to admit you love something? Why are you so hesitant to say that you have a dream and a passion and something you want to do? When did the church stop putting gasoline on that fire in people's lives?
Yeah.
I feel partially responsible. Like, stop. Like, no, live a life of passion. And you know what I think it is? Oof. You know what I think it might be? We're afraid that if people go off pursuing the things they're passionate about, they may leave the church and stop giving. I said it. I said it. And I don't think that's true. I think the people that are the most passionate, like, we are giving people by nature. When you tell someone, find your thing and do it, you're not risking them leaving the church. You're risking them finding a life of purpose and passion and excitement. And then if you're not careful and you're only allowed to stay without passion, you can only be a part of the church without passion. Imagine how boring of a place a church becomes when everybody has the soul sucked out of them just so they can stay there and be faithful, committed
that
contributors.
What is your goal? If you're a church, Jordan, and everybody else here, what is our goal at Shiloh Ranch? Is it truly to build the kingdom of God, to bring people to Jesus, or is it just to build Shiloh?
Right.
Because why would that scare us?
Amen. Amen. A million times. Amen.
So here's a question, because I have one of something you're super interested in.
Okay.
But it's kind of far out there, meaning logistically, you're not going to go pursue it.
Okay.
But it is one of those things that you're super interested in. That maybe you haven't even thought about, like, I wonder if there's any kind of monetary value to that, but it's just something you're interested in. What is one?
So that's a weird way to answer it. Anybody that has horses will understand what mine is. But every horse I have right now, I could sell, and for a lot. I don't have a horse that's not worth a lot of money right now. But for some reason, I'm happy with the 4 that I got. I like the 4 that I got. I'm not making a tremendous amount of money rodeoing, but I've had a great year. Everywhere I go, it seems like I'm winning something, but I just like them. I like having them. The idea that could ever be an income source, here's why that won't happen. It would require a different lifestyle.
Right.
Like the people who are being successful in that field live a life that I don't want to live. So I realize I'm at a sort of a dead end, unwilling to proceed. But I love it. I love it. I like going out and seeing them. I like feeding. I like the lifestyle adjacent But I don't want to go live in a horse
Equine.
trailer and be gone.
What is your backup, Jacob? I mean, like not your backup.
Your backup.
My
He takes
backup?
that as like, what's your backup
Yeah.
plan?
My backup
wait,
plan is
real
the
quick.
military.
Well, I already know that.
Let me say
Yeah.
this. Let me say this. Take it for what it's worth. The Enneagram thing. I know there are varying degrees of commitment to that. But one of the things about my personality is I want to be free. Like I want to be free. I want to be independent. I'm very autonomous. However, I want people around me to be free also. It's high on my like personality profile. And so I think what we're saying goes along with that is I want people to feel inspired. That's why things like this matter. It's actually woven into my personality of like, it's not good enough if I escape my cage, I won't leave until everybody else's cage is open. And I think I kind of resent people who, if I'm not careful, I can get resentful. But I want people to go try it. Because what you find is you go try something, you're like, I really actually don't like that. Okay, well, now you know. Yeah. At least you learned. At least you figured it out. Let's figure out what it is. What's yours? Okay, military is your backup.
Well, I mean, that's just backup for like if I need money to live.
I don't think that made my... Keep going.
No,
Yeah,
adventure.
yeah.
And, you know, I mean,
See the world. Yeah.
there are combat documentarians.
When I see somebody
think
on a
I
boat,
would love to be a combat
when I see
documentarian.
somebody on a boat firing rounds at pirates, there's a little part of me that sometimes wonders, like, I wonder if I missed my calling because
Best job I ever had.
sitting on a Navy vessel as pirates get, and I'm not saying hit them. I'm saying warn them.
We just figured out Jordan wants to be a murderer. He's like, I've always, you know.
Can you imagine though, like people out on the high seas committing larceny, and you're like, you picked
Not right now.
the worst possible
You're not
boat
that guy, pal.
because I'm on it. You're not that guy, pal. I would love anyway. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I don't. I get it.
Yeah.
Rip said you hit the nail on the head. So many churches lose sight of the true mission. It is to build the kingdom, not to build the church. If Shiloh disappears, Jesus is no less Jesus. However, if Jesus wasn't who he says he is, Shiloh doesn't matter anyway.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me your far out one because
Archaeology.
Nice.
okay, no, I don't even
That's
know.
sweet.
I don't even know how to follow
I
up with that.
absolutely
I'm not even 100% sure that I know what
love-
that is.
So
Modern Indiana Jones.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
So
what I see Jacob as,
discovering pyramids and,
Are we
and
talking?
dig sites.
Are we talking like brushes and dirt and dinosaur bones?
And escaping from tombs and
No, I think, and also I think media would play a part in that. But man, I am so fascinated with old
that's interesting.
things.
Okay. All right. If you turned in
Story.
for spiritual stuff, let me just
interested
tell
in
you,
stories.
we might be done.
Yeah.
But but now we're gonna talk about something that is also interesting to me. We don't have a freaking clue about most of the old things that are built in the world.
Was it you?
not a clue?
Was it you that told me about that we haven't actually found a full T-Rex skeleton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one has ever found. For all that we know,
Dude,
Yep.
that's what I'm saying. So
when you look at an alligator skull right now, speaking of geology, like the idea that we're so advanced, we are probably less advanced than other people have been on this planet pre-flood. We don't know how walls got built. We don't know anything about what's the one jet. What's the place where it's the heads that are buried below and like
Easter Island.
Easter Island.
Yep.
We don't know anything about the pyramids, but we know there's more to them. We don't know how they were built. And this idea of like, oh, the slaves built. We don't like. There's so much we don't know.
Göbekli Tepe.
The soil in the Amazon. The soil in the Amazon was
Yep.
created.
The
and there used to be
Amazon.
cities. It's all set up
Crazy.
on grids.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's what I'm saying is that stuff fascinates the heck out of me.
Yeah.
And so, and also to be in media because there are people that is their calling. They're like, I dig in dirt and find things very successfully. And I think that's the coolest thing ever.
yeah.
Now I can play a part. I don't want to go to school to be an archaeologist,
Yep.
but I know how to make a video and I would
You
love
could follow
It's
the
the
people
same
that
come
do-
with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for me. Like, for me, that thing is mechanics, right? Like, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, I'd probably be turning wrenches, right?
would be
But
a
I
car.
wouldn't, yes. I wouldn't go to school to be a mechanic, right? I'd use my skill set now to somehow play a part
Right.
in whether it's growing someone's mechanic company.
I have a theory. that the same part of your brain that enjoys mechanics is also directly connected to some completely other thing related to your calling, the music thing, the worship thing.
Totally.
Like that's the other part of like living with a dream that is so interesting is sometimes you full on pursue something and what you realize is you get there and you're like, it wasn't that. But
then you're dipping your toes in like 4 different dreams.
And how loyal do people get to a dream based on how they felt in the beginning instead of how they feel now? I think sometimes people are like, I can't quit this dream. I started it. And you're like, no, it's okay to go. Yeah. It's not that.
I mean, so listen, man. Listen, I
we're getting
love,
stupider. Yeah, true.
I mean, when I say dreams evolve.
Real quick, can I interrupt so I don't forget this one thought? Google Carl Baugh. C-A-R-L, Carl Baugh, and then you can look up Museum, Glen Rose, Texas. To your point, the stuff that this guy has been able to discover about pre-flood, like incredibly fascinating guy. But to your point, I think you would love to follow because he's not a good storyteller. Like he's a good communicator. He's a really smart guy. I would love for a guy like that to have his story presented in a way that people could understand because the material is phenomenal. He needs a storyteller to help him.
So that's what I'm saying is I believe your interests are kind of
interconnected.
Yeah.
Because right now I have absolutely no avenue for archaeology and media, right?
You have YouTube.
I mean, I've got a shovel. I could just start digging somewhere, right? But
day 37, nothing in my yard
still blue basalt because I'm in Central Oregon.
I found a rabbit.
I bought a metal detector.
But so what I'm saying is I don't know what the Lord has for me.
Right.
But I'm learning the heck out of media right now. And I have a huge interest in archaeology. So who knows what he's going to do in the future, but maybe it's that.
Yeah. Yes. Am I the only one that lives with this giant dwelling, lingering fear that I'm going to run out of time?
Yes.
That's dude.
I feel that.
Or no. Dude,
no, you're not the only one.
You're not the only one.
I'm saying yes.
No, right. That's what I gathered from what you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Am I the only one? Yes.
Yeah,
you're alone.
You're alone, man.
Totally. I have this feeling of like what you're saying, like I would love to tell stories, but if I don't hurry, it's never going to happen. Oh, it's not happening. Okay, I give up. Versus, I don't know. I guess
I feel like that's what stopped me in a lot of ways from pursuing things, if that makes sense. So like me dedicating time to an album is terrifying.
Right.
Because it's marking
resistance,
off time.
I hate being bad at stuff.
Yep.
And I don't want to invest the amount of time to get competent at things. And so I don't start new things because it's just like,
such a weird,
skateboarding. I would love to be good at skateboarding.
Dude, I thought I was going to.
Where are you going to skate in Powell, Butte?
On the pyramid.
Out here, we're building a mini ramp.
We're building a mini ramp. Yeah. There's a bunch of plywood in the back.
Brandon Grindle is actually going to help.
Brandon Grindle is the skateboard.
Listen, let's make sure Brandon's got insurance because have you seen the video of him just full send on the bike?
Yeah,
he's got his keys,
broke his hips.
He's got his keys snapped to his belt loop and lands right on him.
Yep. He still hurts from it, actually. Fun fact.
We might want to put the half pipe like just off the church property strictly for liability purposes.
Anyway, but so interests and spirituality. I think there's so much to the
There's
Holy
a force
Spirit.
field between the two.
I think the Holy Spirit is the encourager. Because the Lord's up there like, bro, our pyramid's crazy. I know how they're built. Praying up there.
What if when he created the earth, he put them there just as like, they're never gonna figure this out.
What a jerk!
But isn't that what John 15 is talking about when it says, "Abide in me and watch what I can do with all of it." But apart from me, you can't figure it all out. Mm-hmm. You'll never sort out why you're a mechanic and a worshiper. You'll never understand what cameras and archaeology. You'll never figure that out. But if you trust me, I'll do some amazing things with your life, and I'll do what I want in your life. And that's what's like encouraging to me. What do I have to do? I'm running out of time. Well, if I feel like I'm running out of time, I should be spending that much more time getting to know the heart and the nature of God.
Yeah.
That should be the takeaway.
Man.
Now we have to keep talking until Levi gets back. Levi just
left.
Jet is there's pyramids everywhere.
There's pyramids everywhere, dude. There's a pyramid that you can see on Google Maps in the Arctic.
That's okay. So
where there has been nobody living.
Antarctica. What in the world is that whole place?
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be interesting. Can Wesley shut this off?
Yeah. Wesley, go ahead and click the slide that says thanks. So
Thanks.
it says scenes, and then there's options, and one says,
I
but
feel
don't
like-
press it yet.
feel
Nod at me when you have it ready.
Okay.
Okay, he's got it ready. So thank you guys for watching.
This has been a very interesting
This has
one.
been very fun.
I feel like it got kind of dry there in the middle and real thinky, and then started fun, ended fun.
Cool. Very cool. Well, okay, now we were about to go and stop it, and then Wesley stands up because Levi got back. Thank you guys for watching. We will talk to you next week. We'll see you on Monday and talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.